G'day everyone, my name is Tom Craig and you're listening to my podcast, The Help Side, where we speak to some of the most recognisable names in world hockey and get an insight into who they are, what they're about, and what makes them tick. Now, if you like what you hear, feel free to follow our socials at The Help Side on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And be sure to like and subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss an episode. We'd absolutely love that. Today, we're going back in time to a time where things were done a little differently. Today's guest is former Australian goalkeeper Bob Proctor. Now, by former, I mean Bob won a silver medal at the 1976 Montreal Olympic Games. Bob finished his career with 40 caps across 2 World Cups and the aforementioned Olympic Games, and has since become one of Sydney's most successful coaches, coaching numerous teams to several premierships, as well as coaching the New South Wales Australian Hockey League side for a number of years. Bob played in a time where the international hockey landscape was completely different and has some of the best yarns in the business. I don't want to reveal too much about what you'll hear over the next hour and a half. That'll be Bob's job. He's a magnificent storyteller, and I can tell you that the time we spent chatting in Bob's backyard over some nuts and a tea was some of the quickest minutes of my life. From being the first Australian team to play on Astroturf to abandoning a match mid-game in Pakistan amidst a hostile crowd, and all the on-tour antics in between. It's a little different this week, but truly absorbing. I hope you enjoy the help side of Bob Proctor. I'm here with legend of Sydney, New South Wales and Australian hockey, Bob Proctor. Invited me into his home in the deep south of the Shire. I thought I was lost a few times getting here, but I made it and I'm here and I'm having a cup of tea. Bob, doing well?
Well, yeah, I'm having a cup of tea too. That's going to surprise a lot of people, I'd suggest. Welcome to Engadine, Tommy.
Thanks, mate. It's beautiful to be here. Beautiful house. Soy crisps are good. We're going to rip in. I went past a lot of football fields, grounds, etc. You're a hockey man.
Yep.
Have been as long as I've been alive.
Yep.
And some. And a lot.
And a lot, yeah. Well,
Why hockey?
I'm 71, started at 13, so it's a long time.
Why hockey? Why'd you start?
Went to San Souci primary school, and a guy called Don Whitbread was in hockey, played with St George, and one day he said to the school, anyone want to play hockey? And I was playing soccer in the afternoon, and a few of us gone, what's hockey? So, yeah, we'll have a go. So they picked us up had to be in front of Martin's newspaper shop at Rocky Point Road, put us in the back of a Jeep. There was about 8 of us. It wouldn't happen these days because no seatbelts. Took us to Gardeners Park, and those who have played at Gardeners Park will say, God, it was more than a cow paddock. So anyway, that's where it started, and then I remember they said, where do you want to play? And I was playing goalie, remembering I knew nothing about hockey. And I think I'd never even seen a hockey stick before. So I played goalie. And they handed me these pads and these things that were kickers and a pair of cricket gloves, and I went, yeah, righto. I remember saying, what do I do with these? I know your pads, but what are these other things? Put them on your feet. So anyway, I did that. We played a side called Police Boys. Had a couple of young kids in it could play, and we only lost 1-0. So
Did you make any saves?
Probably a couple. So anyway, we got back in the Jeep, dropped us off at Martin's newsagents, walked home, which was only 10 minutes from there. Walked in, Mum and Dad said, how'd you go? And I lost, oh, that's good, how'd you play? Not too bad. The following week was a contrasting story. We played a side called Dolls Point, had Ron Riley, Bob Steele, David Durant, a couple other state players, all good players. So we played that game and finished the game, and got in the Jeep, went back home. Mum said, how did you go? We got beat 21-0. And my dear mother, God rest her soul, said, did you have a good game? And I just looked at her and went, yes, Mum. So she was quite proud of her son who'd let 21 goals in. So that's where it started, and then the following year I didn't play. Went to high school and then was asked, did I want to play hockey again? So I said, oh yeah. So I played and dropped soccer and stayed with hockey. And unfortunately, my decision to play goalkeeper stayed with me for my whole career. I tried very, very hard to get out of it to play. I thought I was a Tom Craig, but out in the field, but I couldn't. I couldn't get out of the bloody net. No, you're staying there. The only time I got out, which I'll tell you the story later on, a couple of times, of course, but yeah, nailed me to that 16-yard line. I was never allowed out.
What, as a striker?
Yeah, well, anywhere, just out in the field. I just wanted to get out of goals, but they wouldn't let me get out. I play third grade. No, you're staying there. So, yeah, so from a 99.9% of my hockey career has been in the net.
Yeah, okay.
For a few occasions, got out in carnivals, or when we used to have carnivals in the old days. And I unfortunately had to play that silly Masters stuff. I did that for a year and a half, and I just... When was that? I retired 84.
Oh, yeah.
1984, that is. and for a year they said, come and play. Well, it was called Veterans then, I think it was. Yeah. Come and play Veterans. I mean, no. And remember, Richard Adamick said to me, come and play, have a game and have a beer. And I said, Richard, I don't need to have a game of hockey to have a beer. So, no, thank you. Anyway, I relented and played a year out in the field. The following year I played again. And I went to Orange for the state championships over what it was. It must have been over 40s. And no, it was over 35s. And so I played, and I just didn't enjoy it. So I came back, and I just said, I'm not playing anymore. So one of the best decisions I ever made, not playing Veterans or Masters, what it's called. But a lot of guys enjoy it. So good luck to them.
Yeah. Back to the start, when you started, can you tell us about what goalkeepers wore in under 13s? I imagine it probably would have changed from 13s to games, or not at all?
No, they
always
were
the same thing.
They were cricket pads.
Yep. With
kickers on them, which some pads had the kickers attached, which I did wear for a season or two, and. You may not remember the cricket gloves with the green back with the spikes on them. They were
with spikes.
Yeah, well, cricket. They were the cricket gloves.
You had spikes on.
Not spikes. Know. It's just rubber.
Yeah, okay.
If you see old cricket footage and look at their gloves, they're just toweling.
Heavy.
No, just cloth.
Okay.
Just your hand.
Yeah, okay.
And that was it. No chest plate, and people say, the balls weren't as hard and the sticks weren't as good. Correct, but the balls were still hard when they got you. So that was it. And then when I sort of got into it a bit more, I idolised Paul Deering, and used to write him letters and used to write back. And pardon me, he was using these pads that were a lot better than kickers. Still. Not together. And then he came back from 72 with these gloves, leather, but they were quite thick, probably 1.5 inches, or whatever you call these days, 40 millimetres, centimetres. So I used those. They were very good. Got them they were made in Germany. So I got a pair of those, and just there was nothing like today. And certainly not the cost of today's stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, and the worst thing about it is that, especially when we played on the turf, and 76 on the way to the Olympics, we went to Limburg in Germany, and we were the first official Australian side to play on unofficial service. And, because your boots and you sat up, your kicker was above, and when you're stopping it, the kicker wasn't much good because the ball's getting out, and it hurt a bit. But so but with the old cricket gloves that we had, remember Paul Deering showed me a photo when he came back from Munich, and his hand was black because and it was the same thing. You stopped it, and it was just a piece of material cloth
over your hand. So you had your stick in one hand.
Yeah. And then the back just had these rippled, so you didn't get it your knuckles, but your bloody palms were black, but that's what it was in the day. So
could you catch the ball?
Yes, but you had to release it straight away.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, today the goalkeepers are laughing. They play tennis with it.
Yeah.
And blown a few times penalty strokes because the ball had gone forward. I mean, in those days, arcade rules and stuff like that.
What does that mean?
Just old rules. I remember one of the worst was we were playing WA down in Adelaide in '74, and it was the final, and they've come. Mal Pool's come in, and he played inside left, come in, he's had a shot, and I was right on the post, and I saved the ball, dropped straight down onto my kicker, and I kicked it, and Richard Jewell, who happened to be in the Western Australian, that's certainly nothing against Richard, blew a stroke, and of course, being a cool, calm and collected bloke that I am, went a bit nutty, and I said to him, how could you blow it? You couldn't have even seen it because he was standing behind me. They got the stroke and we lost 2-1, which was a pain in the backside. But anyway, so you could catch it, but you had to release it straight away.
Is that what you'd do? That was a tactic, like you would try and catch it and
if you could catch it and kick the.
Not so much of the deflection stuff that people.
Well, sometimes you had to because that's
Gotcha.
what it was. But you weren't allowed to. The ball couldn't go forward. I mean, and you could shoot anywhere. No,
the ball couldn't go forward off
the hand.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
Because they reckon it's propelling the ball and
same as off your feet or no?
No, as long as it wasn't dangerous.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
The interesting thing, well, what I want to know is when you're 13 and you've got experience in football but none in hockey, and they strap you up with all this stuff, and then you're getting pelted by hockey balls. What did you use? Hockey ball or cricket ball? Or what was it?
Well, it's the same as a cricket ball.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, stitches, yeah.
Do you remember the first time you got hit by a hockey ball? And I imagine you must have thought that was
No,
kind of fun.
I honestly can't remember, but I'm pretty sure the fact that I got over the pads and these kickers was the first shock, and then suddenly realised I'm in there and blokes are hitting the ball. I can't quite remember what I thought, but I'm pretty sure it wouldn't have been something pleasant. But as I said, I just couldn't get out of there, And I probably one of the reasons was because I realised what you had to do with the hockey stick, and I didn't think I could do that. So it was safer staying in the net, not making a fool of myself. So
was it a good team you had? Like, what kept you around playing? I mean, it doesn't sound like you loved goalie. I don't know.
No. Well, when I only had that 1 year and got out and then played soccer again, and then first year in high school, they came back and said, do you want to play? Because they used to then play school hockey. There were about 4 or 5 sides in the St George area that played actually on a Wednesday, I think it was, and I didn't play. So they asked me would I come back and play, and I said, I thought about it, said, yeah, righto. So then I went back, and I'd played goalie before, and it's the only position I knew anything about hockey. So I stayed there, and as I said before, I couldn't get out of the joint, and I went for under 16 Sydney trial. I was at 15, my first year at 16s. Made the second Sydney team, and then the following year I made second team, and then second year I'd made the second team again, and we played down in Goulburn, freezing cold down in Goulburn, as you probably know. Anyway, we played Canberra in a final, and I got knocked out.
No helmets then?
No helmets, no. A guy called Rodwell, big unit, ran straight into me, knocked me out cold. I was in Goulburn Hospital for overnight, and I got picked in the state under 16 team from there, and it just realised, well, this is must be my destiny to stay in the bloody net and get pounded. And as I said, I used to write to Paul Deering, and he'd give me some advice, and when I'd see him, we became really good friends. And every time I went up to Newcastle for whatever reason, he'd always come around, we'd have a bit of a chat and a cup of coffee. And in 68, I think it was. No, it wasn't. 67. I was in the under 18s. We were ball boys for Australia versus Great Britain at the old Sydney Sports Ground, and
which is where
where's the, what do you call it, stadium is.
At Olympic Park.
Yeah, no, at home at Moore Park.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. So
you know where they've just pulled down a football stadium.
Yeah.
Well,
So
that used to be the Sydney Sports Ground, grass oval.
Gotcha.
They used to play soccer.
Gotcha.
And anyway, I was behind the net, ball and Charlie Morley was their coach, and they had a walkie-talkie in the back of the net. So he's given Paul directions and whatever, and he found out, and they barred it from there. So yeah, and I just got a sniff of, and it was about when I was that 18, and I think I just realised, well, I might be able to play this game if I, take it seriously. And I started training really, and I love training both physically and skill wise. And I was never the most gifted goalkeeper in the world, but I bet as far as training and as I loved it, and that's where I got just through sheer hard work, and I don't regret one moment. Well, I do, not winning that bloody gold medal, which people keep reminding me. It's all my fault. I'm not going to put me in it, but yeah. So that's where it sort of all started, and just went into it. But in the end, I just love getting the ball pounded at me. I'd love to put the gear on that it got today. Yeah. I'd love to have a crack at it, just to see what it was like. Yeah. I'm not too sure about the helmet. Yeah. I don't think there's one. Need that. I don't think there's one big enough for my head.
Wait, you're saying you'd want to put the gear on today, as you are, and have balls? I'm happy to oblige.
Yeah, I'm sure you would. Well,
I remember you coached me in under 15s and you made me run a lot. So I've got a score to settle. Yeah.
Well, I've had two knee replacements, total knee replacements, and the right one is a lot worse than it was before it went in, so I can't bend it all that much. So as long as I didn't have to go down, well, I'll take that challenge on.
All right.
Okay. I'll tell you a story about that one at 87. I retired 84, coached the States men's 85, and we took a brand new side up to Darwin. And of course it was hot and we can only take 16 players. So my theory was, we'll take one goalkeeper and I'll sit on the bench, and if someone gets hurt, I was 2 years out of not playing, hadn't put the pads on before, and so young Dero was the goalkeeper, and one of Dero's great traits, the fact that he was a bloody good goalkeeper, he was a bloody lazy trainer. And we were up there for the last training session, and I said, and he took a pair of spare kickers, and if you got hurt, put the pads on, I'll go on, fly the next guy up. So I said, I better get in the net and just get a feel for it if something does happen. So I said, and Dero was just standing there, I'll try and save this one. So Dero, get out of the bloody net, give me your pads. Anyway, there was Fitzpatrick, the Jennisons, Des King, Bannerman. It was a bloody good side. They there are a lot of talent out of there. I think there's about 6 or 7 went on to play for Australia. Yorkie and Walkie, a bloody good young side. And so I get in there, and you could just see the eyes light up for these. And suddenly I've just gone, I don't think this is the best thing. So I'm standing there, and the first one's gone straight past my head, and I gone, Jesus, and I saved a couple. Anyway, I knew I was going to get hurt. One of them's going to get me sooner or later. So I said, hold it. I said, Dero, now get into the net and start training properly. And my heart's going boom, 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 boom. And the bloke's going, get back in the net, get back in the net. And I'm going, no, he needs to practice. So anyway, the game started, the tournament started, and I'm on the bench with the kickers and whatever. And after the second game, I realised once I made 2 changes, I didn't have to go on if Dero got hurt. So I made the 2 changes really quick, and that was it. And someone said to me after, what if Dero had got injured? Who was going to go on? I said, the captain, Scotty Fitzpatrick.
In the net. I'd love to see that as well.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was fun, that one.
That's good. Tell me about how you made it to the Australian team, because the pathway is pretty clear these days. There's a centralised program over in Perth, as you know, and there's quite a vast network throughout the country. Back in those days, how did it work?
Well, you went through 16s, 21s, and we were down in Hobart. The last year was 70 in the under 21s, and I had a pretty good tournament, and they picked one of those official on paper top 11 squad or whatever, and I got picked in that, and I made the Sydney team 70 the same year, and we went up to Brisbane and played Brisbane. Had about 6-7 Australian players in it, and we had a real ordinary Sydney team, and we went up there and we lost 1-0, and I was pulling them out of my backside, absolutely pulling them out of my backside. And the reason we lost 1-0 is that I made a save and the ball rolled over the line. I picked it up and threw it back around the post, and the umpire saw about 1/10 of my hand with the ball, and people behind the back, and he's throwing it out. So obviously a penalty stroke.
Wait, is that deserving?
Yeah.
That's fine. So yeah. All right.
Ball got out of the line. I picked that one.
I gotcha.
And sort of, this is my thinking, is that I sort of got from that 21s tournament and had a good time, because one of the Australian selectors, Lou Haley, was up from Queensland, and he obviously seen that game, and I had a few other good games. And what it was then is that word of mouth, and you had to perform at 21s and seniors. So I sort of got on the radar, and after that Hobart game, they picked what they called an East Australian side to play against an Australian side that were going to New Zealand, and we played it down in Canberra at Manuka Oval, and there was some New South Wales guys, ACT guys, some Victorian guys, I think a couple of quick. So we played the Australian side. I think we lost by 3 or 4 goals, and it was another game I was pulling them out of my backside, and I probably they then you're on some list or in someone's mind, and that's where it started. As you say, now there's 45 training camps and this, that, and the other thing. So it was just a matter of performing at a time when the right people are around, the right place at the right time, and perform. So I think that sort of 69, 70, 71 was where I got identified, for the use of a better word, and just seemed to have gone from there.
Now, if you missed it last week, we spoke to Hockey Rube Glamour Girl and 2012 FIH Young Player of the Year, Anna Flanagan. Check it out.
There's probably other things going on, and that I didn't really know what was happening for me. Sure. And so like the coaches would be meeting me each week being like, why are you so distant? Why aren't you, you used to be like head of the pack, now you're coming last. Like what's going on? And I didn't really have any answers, but I'd go away on tour and I could still perform and play well, but then I'd come back and train and it'd just be like, I really struggled to be there, which I think having that such a long period of time, I probably just needed to just take some time out somewhere. And that's what I was saying before. I just couldn't keep going. Like I wasn't mentally strong enough at that stage to keep going, and that's when sort of 2016 like fell to pieces for me. Not getting picked in the Olympics, doing the wrong thing, having that couple of months was probably some of the hardest of my life. But then sort of going to Rio with yourself, which it was hard, but it was still a cool experience. I was coming in at a completely different view. I guess this is your first experience of it. So I'm like, oh man, I totally could have been there, but I blew it. But like I got back into the team after that, and I worked really hard again, but I just wasn't ready. I needed some solid time out, and so when I did get dropped at the end of the year, as much as I didn't want it, it needed to happen. And so I was so angry at the coach and, you know, probably said all the wrong things. But in hindsight, like, it was my actions that caused, and my playing and what was happening with what I was doing that caused me to be dropped.
Plenty more where that came from in episode 14 of The Help Side with Anna Flanagan. Be sure to go back and have a listen, but for now, let's go back to Bob. So everyone was at home training and playing in their local comp.
Yeah,
like the WA
yeah.
guys played in Perth,
Yeah.
Brisbane, etc.,
Yeah,
etc.,
yeah,
etc.
yeah.
And then how did you, like, it was just up to the coach who they thought was...
No, well, they you know, it's like these days, you get Batch and his group going around. I mean, now it's not in one central area, going around to different games around Australia and putting names in little notebooks. And it's like back then, you had your 2-week tournament, and Australian selectors saw who's who in the zoo, and went from there. And then they probably go away and pick their 16 at that particular time. And I made the Australian team in 74 to New Zealand. And I remember I got a phone call from Keith Merton, who was the manager, and it was about 11:45. Don't know what day it was, but 11:45 at night. And he said, "It's Keith Merton here," and I knew Keith. And he said, "You've just been picked in the Australian side." And I was living down at Brighton. And I got up at 4:30 the next morning and went for a run. I was that excited, and so we played over in New Zealand. Before that, they had the Dutch came out, who were the world champions in '73 World Cup, and Pakistan. And my first test was at Manningham on grass against the Dutch, and I thought my career was over before it even started. The ball came through, and of course it was on grass. I went to kick the shit out of it, and the ball, I think my head was like a golf shot. My head went up in the air, and foot went this way, the ball went that way, and it ended up being a 16. I missed it in my first sort of one and only test. And then in the second half, Jimmy Mason from Queensland was on the post, and in those days, you could the short corner hitter could put it anywhere. None of this back, flicking
backboard stuff.
And Tees Cruz is the world leading hard hitter of that particular time, highest goal scorer in the '73 World Cup. He's come up. Meso's on the right post, and I'm going out a couple of steps, and the next minute you hear crack. I've turned around to Meso. Meso's looked at me, and it's hit the post on the corner at shoulder height. And by the time we both looked around, the ball was just going over the sideline. And I said to Jim, "Did you see that?" He went, "Nope." If it hit him, he was a Gonski. So that was my introduction to international hockey. Unfortunately, that missed kick at the start of my career didn't impound on future selections. So that's where probably again. My hard training. Merv Adams was the coach at the time. Wonderful man, and from WA, and he had you just train your backside off, and that's where I learned it from. And Kenny Walks Senior, he was another bloody hard man. That the harder you work, the better you got. And those two really installed what I believe in. That's why I try and tell these young kids, and through my coaching, it's the same thing. I hate blokes that take the easy way at training, and those who do take the easy way usually fail in the end anyway. So it was just through sheer hard work that I stayed where I did. As I said, I wasn't the most gifted at the start, because I had no idea what I was doing. And I just realised I just had to work hard. I remember I used to, and as a field player, you can get some cones, you can do this, hit it against the wall and whatever. Try and train on your own when you're a goalkeeper. It's pretty hard. But I did a few things that I believe were beneficial to me, and
what were they?
Well, I used to kick tennis balls without pads or anything on, just with sand shoes or whatever. Tennis balls. I used to throw golf balls at the wall using the old Don Bradman theory. I used to get in the backyard of my place because back then, those who saw me play, you used to do a lot of sliding and be able to get up quickly so you make the save and you're up on your feet for the next shot. And I used to spend, a couple of nights a week just in the backyard to put a sheet down so I wouldn't ruin Dad's grass if it didn't help, and just practice my technique, going down, getting up and things like that. And it's a bit like I saw a thing with you when you were showing when your ability to go left and bust into remember that video that I saw about a month ago. I saw it. Just those sort of things, simulating what happens in a game. I used to do a massive amount of stretching. I can still now touch the ground with the palm of my hands. I haven't tried for a couple of months, but I was able to. And I'd be in a park and just chatting. I'd be doing stretching. I'd be in a railway station. There'd be a seat there, and I'd stretch. So I did a heap amount of stretching. And it just doing things that was going to make me better. As I said, and Don Bradman with the golf ball.
There's a story about your vertical jump as well.
Well, everyone does those. Someone said it was good. I don't know, mate. I don't know what's good or bad. I just do it. There was I've got it down in my room down in the rumpus room downstairs. When we made the final of the Olympics in '76, they had a little bit on all the players, and for some unknown reason, it said words to the effect that I have a gymnastic rating. I'm thinking, where did that one come from? But as I said, if the more shots on goal you hit, the better you get. The more stretching and throwing my leg out that extra 2 or 3 inches, which I believe I was able to do. I mean, I've probably saved more balls on the base of my foot and the ball of my foot than I did, trying to get that extra 4 or 5 inches. And I always say that, goalkeepers save these ones in the air. I mean, you could save them all bloody day. It's that one that's that in the corner or that one. Joe Bloggs might go 2 feet, and the real good bloke will go 2 feet and 4 or 5 inches more.
Yeah, gotcha.
And I remember 74, Graham Reid from ACT was the goalkeeper, and they were playing. The Dutch New South Wales played Pakistan beforehand, and the Dutch blokes whacked this ball and was going, and no face masks in those days. And Graham Reid just got his hand up in front of his face and saved it. And someone said to him, "That's a great save." He said, "Well, it wouldn't have been. I've been dead if I hadn't saved it." So a lot of it in those days was survival. I mean, you see kids these days get hit in the bloody helmet.
Yeah, they use it. It's a tool.
Yeah. So, and it's, I mean, the sticks are that much bloody better now and things like that. So you do need helmets and stuff like that.
It seems like the gear in those days afforded you a fair bit more mobility. I mean, and as well with the cricket gloves. Like, did you ever hold were you ever like an extra field player or?
Nah.
Never?
No.
And the amount of fitness that you did, was it just kind of explosive stuff, or did you find that going for runs and that sort of thing helped?
A lot of 16-yard sprints. That's as far as I could go. Did a lot of short stuff, real short stuff.
Yeah.
Did the hundreds. Used to go for, road runs and stuff like that. A lot of stretching exercises, as I said before, but I'm a firm believer in the goalkeeper. Your hips, where your hips go, your leg goes, and I used to do a heap on my hips, rotation and stuff like that. And I honestly believe that I was in the top group as far as, and this is no disrespect to anybody else, but I knew I had to do it, and I love training. And I did a bloody lot, probably 6 days a week I was training, so and you guys do the same thing now, but it's difficult when you're a goalkeeper on your Pat Malone.
Sure.
Greg Corbin, he was quite helpful. He had his own business, and at the time there I couldn't get a job because I was going away and didn't want people, so we'd make a point, go down to Solo Park down there, hockey park, and he'd built 1,000 balls at me. Had a young kid at St George, Matt Hennon, who was, 15. And obviously, he couldn't be used to roll balls at me, throw balls at me. Just getting your technique right.
Yeah, okay. Back in the day, I can't imagine, like, hockey these days isn't a professional gig by any means, especially in Australia.
Right.
I can imagine it would be even more so back in the day. Did you have another job to support you throughout that time, or you just?
Wait, I was cleaning. Greg Corbin had a cleaning company. I was working for him, cleaning in the morning clubs and whatever. Worst experience there. They had a New Year's party at Brighton RSL. I was cleaning there, and I went in there in the morning, and it was just like a bomb had hit it. And I said, Jesus, I don't want to do this no more. So I did it, and myself and a lady, we were the ones. But you needed a team of 50, and we were there for hours and hours. And I rang Corbo up and said, mate, thanks, but. And I got a job at Armour Guard. I went for a few other jobs. You know, you're playing hockey, bad luck, stuff like that. And I got through it. Had enough money to do what I had to. Came back from Montreal with $2.76 in my bank account. Now I've got a home in Engadine, so it worked out well.
Worked out well. Can you tell us about what going on tour was like in those early days? Your first tour was in New Zealand, as you said.
Yeah.
Tell us about the places you've been to and the things you've seen.
Well, New Zealand. We went down to the tournament was at Christchurch after the Commonwealth Games, and so we flew down to Invercargill and we played Pakistan. And the night before, the boys were in the hotel, it was freezing cold, just having a cups of teas and talking, and someone said, "Listen, who's the fastest player in the team?" So the challenge was we'll go out in the main street, and when the lights went green, the race was on to whatever point it was. And Graham Reid was the other goalkeeper, and he was quite quick. And I think he finished second or third or something. Greg Brown may have won, I'm not 100% sure. But so when we played Pakistan there and lost by the odd goal, I played in that game. And then we flew into Dunedin, and we had some really bad flyers in the team. I'm talking about Charles Worth was one of the worst. And so there was a few of them. And we're coming to Dunedin, and Dunedin's quite a windy place, and you go in there. And there was this almighty crack, and some idiot yelled out, "The wing's broken!" Well, there was F and this and F and that. And we got down and blokes were shaking. And so, then we got into Christchurch and played the test. Played the tournament. The following 75. Remember, I played from 74 to 79. I played 40 tests. And you guys played 40 tests in 1 year now. And in 77 after the Olympics, Australia, only, who were finalists, silver medalists, only played 4 tests of hockey. And the 4 tests were against New Zealand. 2 in New Zealand and 2 in Australia.
Is that how it worked? You had to organise your own test
matches?
Well,
I don't know why.
Yeah, okay. And not many tournaments either.
Not many tournaments.
No Champions Trophy, no...
Well, don't take me down that path. I'm a
right.
bit dirty on that to the selectors. No, so then they picked the World Cup team to go play in Kuala Lumpur. Went to Pakistan. Before that, for 2.5 weeks in Pakistan.
What was that like?
Oh, unbelievable. Unbelievable. I mean, you've been to India and, unfortunately can't go to Pakistan. And we flew into Pakistan, really not knowing what we're going to see. And went to got off a plane, and it's just like in India, throw stuff at you and hug you and kiss you and all that sort of stuff. And we went to our first game was against a regional side in Multan. So we're in the carts, the chariot carts and the donkey pulling you. And we're seeing all these people on the side of the road. I mean, it was confronting. And so and the worst, and I can still see like it was yesterday, there was a bloke with his legs chopped off to just below his hips on a board with wheels on it, push himself along with hands. And I mean, I can still see it's like, I often think about it, how lucky I am, and so anyway, we played them all 10, and then we went to Rawalpindi and played the first test, and it was chockers. And the president's missus, I can't remember her name, Buto, I think it was. She's been introduced to all the players from both sides, and bloody Ian Cook decides, and Cookie's a bit of a ladies' man, you know, and he kisses her. Well, we thought there was going to be a riot, you know, just on the peck on the cheek. So anyway, we played that game, got beat 2-1.
That was against
the Packs. Yeah, we played 4 tests over there.
Yep.
And then one of the tests was Lahore. We went into this hotel at Lahore, and Jimmy Irvine came out. I forget who he was with. And when you opened the door, the ones I was with Malpool, it stunk. It'd been locked up for 10,000 years. It was putrid. And we're going, oh, bloody hell. Anyway, Jimmy Irvine comes out of his room, and we're all gathered outside our rooms going, oh, this is no good. And Jim had gone in his room smelling, and in the toilet, someone had forgot to flush the toilet, you know. So anyway, the idea was Keith Merton says, this is not going to happen, we're not staying here. So he went off, and he was gone for hours. And we ended up getting to a 4 or 5-star hotel, which was quite good. And it's like India, you look good, and as soon as you get out, you're in the bloody terrible place. But one day, Ian Cook, Terry Walsh and myself decided, well, we'll just go for a little wander out, see what's happened. Well, we'll turn and left, we'll turn right, and suddenly we just get deeper and deeper into the mile. And, you know, Cookie's a reasonably big guy, and, you know, Terry Walsh, even though he's bigger now, was, you know, pretty big. And I'm thinking, I'm getting between you guys. So we walked around there for a while, and we got back there, and then we played. And we were actually staying on the same floors as the West Indian cricketers. And they were in the last day of playing at the stadium. We were playing at Gaffardi or something like this. And so that was good. We had good conversation, and we were listening to it on the radio. And in those days, some of the decisions were questionable. And when the West Indians came back, we were talking to them, and they're going, bloody cheese. So we had a little cricket game in the hallway, as you do when you're with them. So that was a good experience. Met some of the bloody good cricketers. Then we played them, and the stadium was just, it was like a coliseum, and it was white. It was just white. And there were 25,000 people at the game, and they were all packed on one side because the fields are the other side. And we got knocked off 3-1, I think. They give us a bit of a touch-up. And you'll love this story, is that the game's over, and I think there was 4 or 5 Australians came over, and they introduced themselves. Guess where they're from? Ride Hockey Club. Were they? I can't remember their name. Everywhere. Yeah, they're everywhere. Yeah, so that one's, and then the third one. But the 4th test was in Hyderabad, and we were playing Argentina in the rounds of the World Cup, and it was decided that I think it was Malpool and Barry Dancer were to stay behind to watch the Argentinian game while the rest of us go up to Hyderabad and play this last test. And you go left out of it, and then you go down this one street and for 1,000 hours, and you go back into. So we get to this ground, and there's people everywhere, packies everywhere, and they're chanting and carrying on. So we get out of the bus, and crowds, it's just like India. So we get out of the bus and get in the sheds and get ready to go out. So we go out, and the field was surrounded by people. So I've gone down the net, and they're hanging off the back of the net. And
the goal net.
The goal net. They were sitting just back, probably a metre from the back line, maybe 2 metres. They had a little, it was about 8 inches high to stop the ball from rolling. Plastic. That was it, right? And these people sitting, right? And I remember Ian Cooks and I think Wally Hammond will warm me up. And of course they're missing the net sometimes. And because they were so packed, they're hitting these people and they can't move because they're just packed like sardines, right? And they're chanting and carrying on. And so anyway, there was a bit of a lull, and next minute you hear this thud. And as I look at it inside left, about 10 yards in the circle, someone had thrown an iron bar in an L shape. So we're going...
This is mid-game or in the warm-up?
No, the warm-up.
Yeah.
It gets better. Hey, it gets better, trust me. So anyway, we've gone, Jesus. And the military were there. And I don't know what they call them, the big sticks, and they've got brass on the end of it of about 300 mil, and they're belting these people.
Yeah, okay.
They're just belting
The spectators.
The spectators, yeah. So the military bloke comes in, picks his iron bar up, and just throws it straight back into the crowd. So I'll just donk somebody. So the warm-up's finished, we go and get ready, run on, do all the official stuff. We go down, and they're at the back, and they're, oh golly, you let balls in, and they're going like this, and I'm turning around, and so the game been going like 10 minutes or so, and then there's a bit of a eruption in the crowd, so the game stops, and the game starts up again. Well, I've suddenly realised the crowd is getting a bit agitated, and so did our management. And on the third occasion, I'd actually gone back standing the net. It was the safest place because the stuff was coming onto the field.
Oh, the whole time?
Oh.
Were Pakistan losing, or is it? Was
No. Oh, we were playing quite well.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
we were
okay.
one up or something, but we were really giving it to them. And so the third time comes off, stops the game, and what happened is management have called the team off. We're going into the sheds, it's dangerous. Well, I'm turning around looking, these crowds going ballistic behind me, and I've looked up, and there's only one Australian bloke on the field, it's me. And I've gone, bloody hell, what am I doing? So I've gone on my bike and gone over there, we've gone into the sheds. And Keith Merton says, we've got two choices. We either go back out and play, or we get out of the joint. Let's get out of the joint. So,
what stage of the game is this? Like before half time?
Oh yeah. The game had
Early.
only been, first half. I think there were 3 stoppages in like 20-25 minutes. And so we decided, so we got our gear, we go out the back door, get onto the bus, and by this time they've come out. All these spectators get around the bus, throwing rocks, rocking the bus, and one of the I think it was Trevor Smith. He was looking out the window, and the rock hit the bar between. If it hit the glass, it would have. Yeah, so we got out of there, and we got back, and Barry Dancer and Mal Poole going. We could hear what was happening, so that game got abandoned, and that was the last game. Then we went on to.
What did the media make of that? Like the media, was there a write-up in the Pakistani Times or something? What were they saying? Like cowardly Australians?
Yeah, probably something like that. Yeah, I can't. I do have some articles, but I haven't read them for a while. But yeah, that was a little bit scary. And another one is that we were on that same trip, and we were going up through some mountains, and Trevor Smith had a camera he took with him everywhere, and he's taken photos everywhere we went. We always had a guard with a rifle in the bus. So Trevor, he's taken photos. Next minute, this guy's got at the back seat, and over his hand, he grabs Trevor's camera and pulls it back off him, and no, and kept it and gave it back to him later. But it was really experience. It was, as I said, see some of the things I saw. You're just lucky you're living in a joint like this, I can tell you. I mean, we might whinge about some stuff, but Christ, India's the same, you know.
Did you get a chance to go out and see any of the natural world, or was it all kind of confined to cities? That was
well, the four places we went to. A couple of them were long bus trips, you know, just desert. Yeah. You know, so like we didn't go like you did in India and go and see the Tales from Art or something like that. I'm sure there's something there like that, but we never saw it. Yeah. And then after we finished there, 2.5 weeks, we went on to the World Cup in KL.
Okay. Similar experience or completely different?
Oh, completely different. I mean, you're in all in the one room, as you know, in hotel in World Cups, and it was massive. It was massive. India and Pakistan played in the final. they had an Indian umpire that made an interesting decision, and the whole place nearly blown up. India won it, and then we played India in a game, and we lost 4-3. We had 4 flicks and missed them all.
4 like penalty strokes.
They had 3 and got them all.
Jeez. Who can we name and shame? Who was the stroke taker?
I remember Charlie was Herbie Haig. Might have been Trevor Smith.
Different stroke takers every time.
Yeah, well, I think after the first 2 we were in trouble, but 4.
Wow. Saved or missed the goal?
Oh, we saved them.
Right. Good keeper.
Well, it's better than me. I let them all in. They had 3, and I let them all in. He had 4 and saved them all. We lost. So that put a bit of dent in our semi-final charge. And we had to go to play Guyana, and we won 9-0. We had to catch a plane at like 5 o'clock in the morning, play the game, and come back again. So it was, it was good. Taxing, and then after that, 76 was we did tour of Europe, and then on to the Olympics.
That's all for part A. Please join us on the flip side for part B, where we talk about Bob's silver medal in Montreal, his coaching philosophy, and family life. See you soon.